US is a security threat to the whole world, and Denmark just said it first. People all over the world wouldn't dare move to this country, let alone set foot in the US. I think there are so many people here in the US that do not realize how we are viewed all over the world.
How millions of Americans are struggling, and they're struggling at a rate faster than we've ever seen before. Right now, millions of people are experiencing some form of homelessness. There are many people that live in storage sheds, storage units, in hotels, and even their cars because they have nowhere else to go, or that's all they can afford. This is a huge problem, but we're starting to see a shift.
So what I did when I didn't have any money to my name, I didn't have enough money to pay for rent, I was worried. And this is the one thing I did that changed my life forever.
Okay, so what are people doing that is changing their life forever? Well, years ago, there was a somewhat of an interesting strategy where people would buy a house and they would rent out rooms. Okay, and so they only had to afford a small portion of that home. But then when you try to, start a family, you get married, you have kids, you then have other responsibilities, it becomes very difficult. Right now, for the average home, it is unaffordable. This is causing people to go into debt in order to get into a home. Okay, I was talking to somebody within the past couple weeks that in order for them to get an apartment, they had to go and pull cash from their credit card. So they had to pull cash from a credit card in order to pay the security deposit and the last month's rent. And then they had the money for first month's rent. Well, that's a problem. When you're taking $3,000 from your credit card and then you have to pay that off and the interest on that right there is scary. But this is why people are opting for other options. Listen to this.
Man, what's wrong with living inside of a trailer, man? I heard somebody say that they embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. You have a roof over your head. Don't let these people get in your head and talk about, oh, you live in a trailer park. They make fun of you for where you live. It don't matter. You have somewhere to live at. Be thankful. Don't let people try to discourage you for having a home. Because people right now that don't have no home. People just, they too full of themselves. But
a lot of people are. Just because someone lives in a trailer, well, why should that matter? It's a home. Okay? A home is what you make it. Not just it has to be stick built, it has to have concrete, it has to have all this stuff, huge land. No, it can be anything. This is why people are living in their cars, because they can afford that. That's something they pay for every single month, and they use it to go back and forth from work to school, to go do daily activities, to go run errands. A house you're barely at. Think about this for a second. When you are working, 8 hours a day, and you're driving back and forth from work, the average person drives about an hour to and from work every single day. That's 9 hours. And then on top of that, you do other things. Let's say another hour, 2 hours a day. So you're spending between 10 to, say, 11 hours away from your home. So you're paying for something that you're only there, 55, 60% of the time. Interesting. Look at this though.
I live in my car, and here's how much money I saved by not paying rent. My old apartment cost me $1,800 per month with utilities. I live 9 months out of the year in my car and 3 months leeching and crashing at friends or family. So 9 times 1,800 is $16,200. Check out my YouTube for more content.
So he saves $16,000 a year by sleeping in his car. I had a friend recently just made a camper van and did it out of like an old minivan. That put some platform in there, put a bed on it, and that's where he sleeps. Because he was having to travel, it was about an hour and 40 minutes to and from work every single day. He decided, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to save money, save the money on gas. I'll work an extra hour every day, which he has been, which his job actually allows that. So that's great there. but now he's able to work an hour more per day, so 5 extra hours per week. He's probably making over $20 an hour, so that's an extra $100 a week that he's making just working an extra hour per day. And then he's saving money on gas, and all he does is sleeps in his little minivan. How great is that? Now, it may not work forever, but again, it's a great solution if that's all you can afford. Look at this though, because again, not everyone's living in a car, or maybe they're not living in a trailer. Look at this right here, because people are getting creative.
Yes, my teenagers choose to live in sheds in my backyard. This is the shed of the 15-year-old with the bougiest light you've ever seen in a shed. These two sheds are the tiny houses that we used to live in before we bought this house. This is the shed of the 18-year-old, and this is the shed that the college kid stays in when they come home. So this is college kids' shed, and yes, they all have electricity and heat.
Okay, so again, just living in a shed. Now, that's not terrible. Hey, it's not terrible. It's better than living on the street. But at the same time, for a college kid to go and live in a shed, that's doable. And I'm not saying this is something that I do or I want my kids doing, but at the same time, if that's what you can afford, then that's what you do. And that's where we're at right now, is that millions of Americans right now are living in a place that they technically can't afford. They're house poor as a result, but they have no other options. Look at this one.
Welcome to our shed and where we've been living the past 2 years in Southwest Florida. I finally decided I'm going to start sharing some more with you guys on what we've been up to, where we've been living while we're building our house. This tiny little home that's kind of like a little apartment on our parents' property. Decorated it for Christmas, getting cozy. We are in the final weeks of living in a shed.
I see a lot of people do this exact same thing. They call it like a community, where they put up a bunch of little sheds on a property, and it's usually a property of somebody that they know, or a parent or something like that, and they put up all these little sheds, and people live in the sheds, but they use the bathroom inside, they use the kitchen inside, and again, it's kind of like having their own home. They have their own space, it's like their own room, but it's a lot cheaper to go and put up a shed and insulate a shed than it is, and maybe run an extension cord, than it is to build an entire room or entire wing onto a home. So again, people are doing what they can afford, and that's part of the issue. Is some people can't afford these things at all, and they are homeless. But look at this one right here.
I live in a hotel room with my wife and 2 cats. Come check it out. So when you first come in, you immediately have the kitchen. Got a fridge, not full size, but close. Fit everything we need in there. Got the kitchen with our different little appliances, all our stuff, not stuff the hotel gave us, well, other than the microwave. Got the stove top. Got our little dish center over here. We got our oven that I got us. We've got this little center right here with our mini fridge, our dry storage, canned goods, all that stuff. Back over here to the left by the front door, we've got the bathroom, all our hygiene supplies. We kind of made it our own with our own little shelves. Got shelves up in the shower to hold our stuff. The toilet, which I actually put a bidet on. Yep, I'm living in a hotel and put a bidet on my toilet. And then you come over here to the bedroom. king size bed, so that's nice. That's where the magic happens, if you know what I mean. And then we got the closet area right here, storage up there. We got stuff stored underneath the bed. Then we come over here to the dresser with the TV, got the PlayStation behind it. We got our kitty Jasper here running around. Got one of the cat trees here. And then we got my gaming table, my gaming chair. And then right here behind, I got where I put our shoes, both hers and mine, my hats. Then we got our storage area for TikTok shop products. This is full. All those are full. That's full. This is the living room right here. We got the litter box. We got the other little dresser with the smaller TV, another cat tree, the window.
The guy's actually doing pretty well. Living in a hotel, has a bathroom, has a kitchen, obviously. It has a bed, great. Has a separate area for everything else, for just a living room. And again, 2 TVs inside this hotel room. That's great. But again, it's more manageable. This is something that people can manage. Think about this for a second. This is why people live in hotels. They don't have to pay a first month's rent, a last month's rent, and a security deposit of $1,000 or $2,000. No. Usually, you pay for your one night or however long you plan to stay. Maybe it's a week or a month. And if you're staying for a month, you're going to get a good deal. Especially if you stay like an extended stay or something like that. They're going to give you the monthly rate. But here's the thing. You pay a security deposit one time. One time. That's it. It's like $150. That's it. You don't have to pay a 1 month and then a second month and a security deposit on top of that of $2,000. That's why people can't afford to go and rent something, because they can't pay for first month's, last month's, and a security deposit. That's why living in a hotel, a shed, even in their car is something that many people do simply because they have to save up enough money to be able to finally rent something. And that right there can take several months. So let me know, are you or anybody you know living in a car, a shed, storage shed, or a hotel?
America, it is too difficult to live here in the United States.
I am somewhere between we can't afford that and we need to.
Millions of ordinary people are asking the same question. Why does a wealthy country like the United States make it such a struggle to survive? And then, the answer is the reality unfolding right before our eyes. Americans with jobs are living in cars, in the RV, in the dilapidated motels. It's $80 a day. It's not that they're lazy. It's not that they didn't try. And that's because of a system that seems to be pushing them out of the housing market, inch by inch, dollar by dollar, bill by bill. And the remarkable thing is, this isn't someone else's story. Many people left comments saying they only had 1 or 2 more pay periods until it was their turn. We are told the economy is doing well. But who is it okay with? So, the real question is, what drove millions of Americans to work every day, only to end up living in their cars? Right now, we're going to peel back the layers, from the cost traps to the hands of investment funds, to see how this system works, step by step. If you ever thought this would never happen to you, then you need to keep watching. You know this saying, right? Living in poverty is very expensive. It sounds like a joke, but it's a more accurate description of America in 2025 than any economic report. Let's start with a very ordinary image. A modest suburban apartment rented for $1,200 to $2,400 a month. It's not a cheap figure, but it's still within reach for workers. But if you fall off that threshold, even just a little, you'll be pushed into a topsy-turvy world. The extended stay motel. $75 to $80 a day. Listen again. Not a week, but a day. That means over $2,000 a month to live in a room with moldy walls, a bathtub with a hole in the bottom, and a damp smell that clings to your clothes like something you can never wash out. In the US, sometimes a standard apartment is cheaper than a rundown room. And yet, millions of working Americans still have to pay that price because they have no other choice. That's the trap. The trap that if you fall into, every dollar you earn will evaporate almost instantly. Paying by the day is always more expensive than paying by the month. But if you've lost your home, or you have bad credit due to some event, how can you sign a month-to-month lease? You don't have $500 to $1,000 for a deposit. You don't have a good record to pass the test. So you're pushed into high-frequency rent, meaning you pay daily or weekly, just like buying groceries in small packages, while wealthier people buy them by the crate for less. A woman shared in an interview that she rented a car to drive for Uber at a cost of $60 a day just to have enough money to pay for her room that day. That's not living. It was a race against time. And the cycle begins. You earn, you pay, you're left with almost nothing. You can't save. You can't escape. It's like pouring gasoline into a car, but the tank under the car is punctured and it just keeps leaking, not retaining a single drop. Celeste works 2 to 3 jobs at the same time and still has to pay $520 a week for a room that's no different from an old warehouse. But the system doesn't reward effort. It just charges. The question is, why do the poor pay more than the rich for the same thing? Is it due to management, due to the business model, or a system that knows your level of frustration very well and prices based on that very thing?
Hi guys, thanks for tuning into this channel once again in this Ijoma TV. So guys, as you have watched up to this moment, what do you think that should be solution to this? Because you can see in the video that you just watched, there are a lot of people who based in America live inside their vehicles, inside their cars, while some live in hotel just because of high cost of living, because they can't afford it. So what do you think that should be solution to that? Honestly, I don't think that situation is nice. No. A lot of people see US, American different way. But if you have not been there, you will not understand what people are really passing through in that place. Because people are saying that this regime of Donald Trump, things are so difficult for them. House rent, bills, everything is very high. Cost of living, grocery, in fact, everything is so high and they can't afford it. They are finding life difficult. I don't know why everything is increasing every day like this. You that have watched this video to this moment, what do you think? Please feel free to share your thoughts, your opinion under the comment section of this video. If you are new here, thanks for tuning into my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.